Hello everyone, it's Vicky Messy Stitcher here. It's been 3 weeks since my last video, so I have quite a lot to update you on today, quite a lot to talk about. I expect as normal it will be quite a long rambling video, but we'll see how we get on. I apologise as usual for the lack of kind of replies to comments and things. I'm still having the same frustration with navigating YouTube. I know that it probably makes me sound really stupid. But it is still a problem that I can't seem to access things very easily, especially inbox messages. It's driving me absolutely mad. Also, because I've been fairly busy, it's kind of sometimes got to the point where I haven't been able to reply to absolutely everybody. So I do really appreciate your comments, but that, you know, if I have ignored anything for whatever reason, please don't think it's deliberate. It's probably just that I haven't physically seen the comment, or that I've just been really, really busy. I think my number of subscribers has gone up because I'm nearly at the 500 mark now. I think I've got about 480 subscribers, which seems like loads to me. So I'm really, really happy. It's really strange to think how much it's evolved from kind of a, you know, because I always worried that if I didn't have a very kind of themed kind of approach to doing videos, or if I wasn't doing tutorials, that it might kind of slow down the traffic that my channel gets. But what I've really learned from the cross stitch YouTube community has just been that people enjoy any kind of update, and actually it's better to just be yourself and talk about what you want to talk about, and the rest will follow. So I'm really happy, and I just wanted to say a huge thank you to anybody that's joined my channel in the last few weeks. Really, really do appreciate it. So it's a bit of a mishmash again in terms of what I'll be kind of covering, what I'll be talking about. I've got a few I bought a couple of things that I wanted to not so much review but talk about. I can update you on where I am with my whips at the moment. I've got a little bit of a moan at some point to get in there, so I'll warn you now. And also just thinking about what's next really in terms of projects and what I want to be doing with myself next. First, before anything else, life update. So I've had it quite easy the last couple of weeks, but I've been really, really busy in other ways. Just before just after my last video, I think I realised that I had been successful in an application for a fixed term temporary position for the company or the charity that I work for already. I'm actually going to be covering my friend's maternity leave in a really interesting job, so I'm really, really excited, but it's been quite stressful. My friend had her baby early, which is obviously lovely for her, very exciting, but it meant that I didn't get a full handover with the job. So I've been slightly stressed out trying to prepare for that, trying to get my head around the idea that, you know, I'll be starting that on Monday, 3rd of August. I think it was time for me to have a change. I've kind of been in a role for a while, which I really enjoyed, but the nature of the role has changed, and the nature of our charity to a certain extent has changed as well. So it was just time to think about kind of what's next, a new challenge. And it was just so happened that something came up that really, really seemed to suit what I was looking for, gave me that new challenge, and also it being temporary, it gives me a bit of a chance to kind of see if it's for me. It's still broadly within the drug and alcohol field, but it's a little bit different and a little bit outside of the main work that we usually tend to do. So I'm going to sneeze, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, that's really disgusting. I always seem to sneeze when I do a YouTube video. But yeah, so that's been one thing. That's been quite stressful. I've been quite busy doing that, putting in a lot more hours at work, just trying to kind of get up to speed with finishing off my last job and getting ready for this new job. I've also been on holiday for my friend's wedding, which was really, really lovely. And I was actually going to show you a photo, but I realised that I don't really have any photos where there aren't other people apart from me and my boyfriend in them. And I thought, well, I better not, you know, because obviously they're not really consenting to me showing their photo. But it was really lovely. She got married in Kefalonia, and she was very generous and organised a holiday for everybody around it. So yeah, it was really nice. It was 38 degrees in the sun every day. It did get too hot at times, but most of the time it was really, really lovely. Apart from the wedding, spent a lot of time around the pool, that kind of thing. So that's been really, really good. I am slightly relieved that a whole run of really busy times in July and August has finally come to an end. There's a few things happening. One of my friends is due to have a baby very soon. Obviously, I've got the new job. Obviously, I've always got the house stuff in the background. But I feel like there was a real run where I wasn't really getting any time to myself, which was, you know, meaning that I was kind of not getting stitching done for one. I was not really getting any time to relax, and that phase I think has kind of been and gone now. So now it's time to focus on me and Adam, and actually things that I want to do. And as you might have noticed, I'm actually talking to you from our living room today because our Adam's parents are away for the week on holiday. So we've got a bit more of the run of our house. So rather than kind of as usual living life from two rooms, we've actually kind of got a bit of space. Sorry, I had a bit of a mind blank there. We have a bit of space to kind of, we usually don't spend that much time down here because there's usually somebody here. So it's nice to have the run of the house and just be a bit more free. So first things first, let me just look at my usual list. Okay, so I think the first thing I'll do is update you on my whips. Now, what I'm going to say is I really haven't done very much as I said, it's been a really busy kind of few weeks. I'm actually getting stitches block with a couple of the projects that I've got on at the moment. And do you ever have this? I'd be really interested to know if you ever have where you've been really, really looking forward to a project, you start working on it, you think you're going to love it, and there's not quite that energy and momentum to that project that you thought there would be, and it surprises you. I've certainly had that with a couple of the whips that I've been working on, and I don't know whether it's because I'm feeling quite tired in general and just not having much motivation, or whether it's something to do with that project itself. It's probably a combination of both. I really, really thought I was going to enjoy doing my Mirabilia project. I thought it was something really different. I really liked the design. I thought, I always tend to think of things like cross-stitching as a little bit like reading a good book. If you have a good book, you can't help but turn the pages, and no matter how busy the rest of your life is, you find time to finish that book because you can't put it down. And it's very much the same usually for me with stitching projects. But I have to say, I really thought Mirabilia was going to be, as I said, really like the design. It's for Christmas, so it was a Christmas project. It was a present for somebody else. I have to say, it hasn't massively lived up to my expectations, and I don't know why, because it's such a lovely chart. But I have felt slightly like I'm kind of doing it as a chore a little bit when I've been completing it, and I'm not sure what that's about. So I've decided actually to work on something else and focus on something else for a little while, just purely because I think I need a bit of a break from it, because I was working on it. It doesn't look like I've done much on it, but I was working on it for quite a while. All the time I was being quite good at sticking to that one project, and I think it's was probably just time to try something else and leave it alone for a while. So do you ever have that? Do you ever have projects that surprise you with how much or how little you enjoyed them? Is there a reason for it? Is there kind of a common kind of issue that tends to come up, which can sometimes put you off projects? I'd be really interested to hear. But here we go. So I was doing, just to remind you, or for any new viewers, I was completing Mirabilia Royal Holiday, which is a Christmas design, and the idea is that I'm going to be giving it to my mum as her Christmas present this year, which helps because I'm probably going to be very poor as well this Christmas, having moved into a new house. So there you are, lovely design, should look really gorgeous. It's on 32 count linen, Belfast linen, in a shade I can't remember, chestnut I think it is. This is all I've managed to do. I've done, so just to sort of compare it to this, so I've done kind of the arm section, and I'm starting to move on. I've kind of finished this wreath here, and I'm moving on to her dress. I think there's probably a few reasons why. I'm trying to hold this still enough so you can see. I think there's probably a few reasons why this hasn't appealed to me as much as I thought it would. I think that I don't know. I think it's something the design has started to. I don't know. I think what it is I like the design, but the part that I'm stitching on is not a particularly interesting part of the design. And if you see, I'm stitching the bit that is kind of the beginning of that yellow dress, and I'm going to be doing a lot of quite samey stitching. And I think I tend to be like that. I mean, I know when I look at a cross stitch kind of finished picture which bit I'm going to really enjoy doing, and I can tell you now that it will be the cloak that I'll really enjoy, but there's something about doing all that yellow and it just doesn't really appeal to me that much, which is a bit of a shame. I think sometimes working with linen can be quite tiring on the eyes. I'm used to it and I really like working on linen, but I think sometimes when you're feeling really tired it's easy to make a mistake and then you have to go back. Um, and I don't know. I'm not really. I couldn't really tell you why I'm finding that I'm not enjoying it as much, but I'm not. So I've decided to give that a bit of a rest for the meantime. It's not even worth showing you my Disney because I haven't done anything on that, and that is one that's really surprised me. I actually don't think that's anything to do with how much I'm enjoying stitching it, because when I was on a roll with it, I was really, really enjoying it, and I love all the colours in the Disney for Thomas Kincaid, and I still very much want to complete the series one day. But for some reason, that was just, I don't know whether it's because I've been working on it too long. Also, probably the fact that it takes quite a lot of time working at the pace that I'm able to work at with all of my other commitments. It takes quite a lot of time to make any kind of real progress on Thomas Kincaid designs. So I think I just sometimes get a bit bored and frustrated because I'm not seeing as much change in the design. I have to admit, I do get a bit jealous when I watch people's YouTube videos because I know it's not a competition, but I watch other people make so much progress in a matter of 2 weeks. It just doesn't happen for me, and I kind of, it's months and months, and I've still only done a small portion of the design, so it can sometimes feel a bit demoralising. But then I need to remember it's a hobby, and it's there's no rules, and I've always been very clear for myself that there are no rules. I want to do things when I want to do them. I don't want to turn what is a hobby into something that's going to feel like a chore. So I've always kind of made a promise to myself that if I get bored of working on a particular design, I will leave it and I'll come back to it when I've got a refreshed kind of motivation. So for now, Royal Holiday's gone away. I'd like to not leave it too long before I pick it up again, purely because if it's meant to be a Christmas project, me being me, I'm not going to get loads and loads of time on it, so I'd like to get it done comfortably kind of early December, so I need to make sure that I allow enough time for it really. So I can probably afford to put it away for a few weeks, but I'd like to kind of by the end of August have started making some more progress on it, so we'll see. But any tips you have actually for Stitches Block? Is there anything that helps you? Is there anything that makes you feel that you can carry on despite some of the doubts that you've got about the project? Or is it just a case of leaving it for a few weeks and coming back to it? I know some people respond to rules, some people are much more successful with their stitching if they say to themselves, I must get this amount done. Or do other people like me find that it needs to be more of a casual thing and you just return to it when you want to return to it? I'd be really interested to know. Cool. The other one, which is quite exciting, I've started my Mad Hatter Omri Koresh design, just to reiterate for the about millionth time. He is one of my favourite artists I've ever discovered. He is absolutely amazing. He does lots of digital artwork, and he, like with this design, he tends to incorporate either his own image or images of his friends into his work, and I just think it's fascinating. So this was the present that one of the presents that my mum got me for my birthday. I was really looking forward to starting it, and it's been a pleasure to stitch actually so far. I haven't done much because I've done about a week's worth on it, and it really won't look like a week's worth to you, but I have done a week's worth on it. And it was coming up to the holiday for my friend's wedding, and I wanted to take cross stitch with me, but it needed to be something a bit more manageable. So at the moment, I've got my cross stitch frame packed away because we were due to be moving house months and months ago before the last house kind of fell through. So for a long time it's been packed away, and to be honest, I don't really want to get it out, assemble it and everything else. So for the moment I'm stitching it in hand. I've heard other people say they don't really get on with hoops, frames, Q-snaps, they just like to work in hand, and actually ideally I do. I love my frame and I think it will probably be really helpful for my Heaven and Earth designs. But actually, I actually like the feel of stitching in hand, but I worry about the fraying and the Ada getting dirty. The only thing with larger projects like Heaven and Earth is I kind of subscribe myself to the fact that even if I had it in a frame, working on it all that time is bound to get dirty anyway, so it would always need a wash at the end. So I think I need to just relax. I think if it gets too frayed and it's really impinging on the amount of Ada that I'm going to have left, then I'll have to stitch around the edges. But I think it's unlikely that it would kind of fray for 3 inches, but maybe I'm wrong there. So I've been stitching this in hand. There's really not much to show you and it won't look like it, but this is actually a week's work, top left. It's a shame the colours on this aren't better. I just can't believe how much you can work on these projects and it doesn't look like you've done anything. I think I may have mistakenly just now called it a Heaven and Earth. It wasn't, it was actually a Gecko Rouge kit. So you will see that it's actually this bit here that I've just started on. It's just the beginning of the purples and the kind of dark blues. So I think this is going to be a really good stitch and I think it's going to be really interesting. And I don't want to leave that too long before doing some more on it because I had quite a momentum for that, and I think if I'd have kind of sectioned out some more time for myself, I could have done a bit more. But this will be a rolling project and I'm under no illusions, you know. I think that will take me a good couple of years. But it'll be really nice to see it when it's finished. So as I've said, I lost momentum with some of my projects and I didn't know what to do next. And actually what I decided is to go in, I've got a kind of wicker basket, which looks, I call it my treasure chest, and that's got all my kits in. And I thought, let's revisit something that I haven't worked on for quite a long time. Let's get a UFO or whip or whatever you'd like to call it out of the box and just do something fresh and kind of get into something a bit different and possibly something that takes a bit less concentration. So I got out my lovely kit. It's called Serenity and it's by Maya. And it's on 16 count Ada and it uses anchor cotton, and just to remind you, you may have seen it in my original videos, this is the design. It's really lovely. It's a Native American lady wrapped in a shawl, and I don't know how well you can see, but there's some quite intricate kind of fractional stitching and back stitching and French knots around here to give detail on the feathers in her hair and her jewellery. I really like this design. It's something for me. It's something that I can imagine being kind of up in our bedroom in our new house and that kind of thing. So I picked this up. I also chose to take it on holiday with me because it has quite a lot of block stitching where you don't have to concentrate too much. So I've done quite a lot. You wouldn't probably remember this from my very earliest videos, but originally I'd only really done kind of that much, the head, and I'd kind of stopped there. And now I've done kind of where you see that kind of bottom red and orange bit and the black bit there. So I've made quite good progress actually. There's a few issues which I'm really annoyed at myself about, but you know when you just think, oh, it's too late to really worry about this too much. But I realised the reason why I stopped stitching it originally was somewhere around the feather in her hair I made a mistake. And at the time I was being really lazy and I just thought, oh, and you think, I can't unpick all that stuff that I've already done. And I didn't have the imagination to think, oh, okay, well, this is what I can do instead, or I can improvise. I hate improvising. I really, really hate it. I think some people are fine with it, but with me, it gets to a point where I've made a big mistake. There's far too much to unpick. And I just think I just have to try and make this look okay somehow. But I'm not very good at the bigger picture, so all I tend to do is add in an extra line of the same thing underneath something, which isn't really going to help, because every stitch I think makes a difference to how things show up. So I've left that section, but then so obviously I came down to this bottom section here, and the trouble is I've again made a mistake. I've gone wrong. I've tried so hard and I can't find out what I've done, but somewhere I've gone wrong, and I've accidentally added in two rows, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense because other stitches I've done belong there. So I'm not sure what I've done, but it's demoralised me a bit because I was making really good progress on it. But I think I'm going to keep going with it and persevere and just see what happens. I'm a bit worried it's going to mess up the patterning on her shawl because, as you see, it's kind of round. It's round here that I've made the mistake, and I think that's going to have an impact on the kind of black section there. But I'm hoping that I can just make it work somehow, and just hopefully it won't look too awful. So we'll see. So that's all I've really done. I haven't done loads and loads lately, but I think I'm coming up to a point now where I'll probably get a lot more stitching done. I'll have quite a quiet house this week. So I'm hoping to and I haven't got a lot on either. I've got my new job on, which might mean that I'm ridiculously busy, but it might also, but haven't planned much socially. So I'm hoping to just have a chilled out week when I get home from work at least, and I can kind of work on things a bit more. So we'll see. So the next thing is just a few cool stuff that I've got really. So firstly, Cross Stitch Crazy came through the post today. My regular subscription, my favourite cross stitch magazine, Cross Stitch Crazy. I just really like it, and it came with this lovely hot air balloon card kit today. I've said many times that I don't tend to do mini kits very often, but Hell's Couple Ditch is one of my favourite kind of, regular everyday designers from magazines, so I may find some time to do that. So I'm really pleased about that. One thing I was going to mention was Cross Stitch Gold magazine. I had a bit of a sales call from the publishing company that do Cross Stitch Crazy. This must have been a few weeks ago. And they suggested to me that I subscribe to Cross Stitch Gold. They were doing a 3 issues for £5 deal. And, at the time I thought, well, I'd heard that Cross Stitch Gold was a magazine for more advanced stitchers, and it was a really good one for that. And I thought, the projects seem bigger, they seem more challenging, they're more in line with what I like to do, so I'll do it. But I've been a little bit, if I'm honest, I've been slightly disappointed. I thought that I don't know, if anybody else subscribes to Cross Stitch Gold, it would be really good to hear what you think. I think it depends what you're looking for. I think if you're looking for something that's slightly more complex than the regular magazine's patterns, it's probably fine. But to me, there isn't enough of a difference between the patterns to warrant it being a completely different magazine that's marketed at very advanced stitchers, because actually I wouldn't call myself a very advanced stitcher, because I think there are things like French knots that I haven't really tackled, and there's things that I still have to learn. But I'd call myself an experienced stitcher, and to me, some of the projects, there's nothing wrong with them. They're lovely projects. I'm not being like a snob or anything, but it just seems that they've targeted it at slightly the wrong audience, because actually it's more of an intermediate level thing. And I was a bit disappointed at the level of detail in some of the patterns. So I don't know whether I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to see how it goes the next couple of issues. And then I might not, because I actually have far too many magazine subscriptions. I subscribe to Cross Stitch Crazy, now Cross Stitch Gold, Psychologies and Glamour magazine. So I need to kind of curb that a bit and choose a priority. But the really exciting thing, I'm also really conscious my battery on my phone on my laptop is going to die in 19 minutes. I don't know where a charging point is, so I may have to cut this a little bit short. So let's get on with it. So I finally got a Cross Stitch Fantasy, which I wanted for about 2 months, and I kept seeing the advert, and I was being weirdly responsible about money because it was £8, and I thought, well, maybe I don't need it. And I was thinking, well, I'm obviously not going to get round to doing anything anytime soon. But actually, I'm really glad that I decided to get it. I love fantasy designs. They're just my favourite type, and there's a few that I just wanted to share with you. I won't show you charts, but I'll show you the things. I know some of you were considering buying it yourself, and I think it's still available. So just to give you an idea of some of the things, so these are by Duran Jones, and these are some lovely cross-stitch cards. It says they take about 8 to 10 hours per card, which I'd say is quite accurate actually. They have a habit of underestimating stitch time for cards, but actually that's quite accurate. And I really like this unicorn one and the Merlin one over here. So I thought I might, I'm not really much of a card stitcher, but I really like those. The next design is a Joan Elliott design. There's some more Joan Elliott's later. It took me ages to warm to Joan Elliott, but now that I have, I'm actually quite obsessed with her. So I don't know what it was, but now I've realised how varied her designs are. So there's this lovely design which I'm going to show you by Joan Elliott. It's actually using Pole Stitch's Fairy Dreams Even Weave, which looks stunning, and it's a unicorn. And I think that would be really lovely for a child's bedroom wall. So that's a lovely one that I'd like to do. It looks quite an easy stitch as well. So this is quite possibly my favourite in the whole magazine, and it's by Lucy Heaton. And it's quite nice to see her doing something a bit more detailed, because she tends, in magazines I've read, to do slightly they're nice, but they're slightly kind of more basic designs. This is the first kind of more complex design I've seen her do, so it's really nice. Definitely want to do this one. It's 14 count white Ada, approximately 80 hours stitching time, and it's a castle. And look at that, that's just apparently this is based on the same castle that the Disneyland castle was based on. So yeah, I just think that's really nice. So I'm going to be hopefully doing that at some point. I'm actually thinking of that being one of my projects for the new year. Another one by Joan Elliott, 100 hours, and again using Pole Stitch's Fairy Dreams Even Weave, is this lovely Cinderella design. It's not my absolute favourite, but I do like it, and I think I'll be stitching that. This one I really like, and it really reminds me of my nan, because my nan used to talk about fairies in the garden and stuff. So again, Joan Elliott, 80 hours stitch time, and it's on white even weave, 28 count white even weave. I'm assuming it's stitched over 2. It's this lovely design of a little girl over a garden wall looking at a fairy, which really captures my gran and granddad used to make a big thing about fairies living at the bottom of their garden and stuff. It's quite sad really, but it reminds me of that, and because they're not with me any longer, it's just kind of a little, sometimes I see projects that remind me of things of them, and I think, no, it'd be nice to do something like that. And then finally a Joan Elliott design again. To be honest, it was very Joan Elliott heavy. That would be my only critique actually of this, is it wasn't very varied with the designers, but this is 50 hours stitch time, using 28 count white even weave, and it's really cute. I think I've seen this design somewhere else. I don't think it's an exclusive, but it's a cushion that she's put it onto, and it's a rabbit with fairies and a toadstool. So there's some of the lovely designs in cross stitch fantasy. I'd really recommend this one to anybody that likes fantasy designs. What I was really impressed with is there is a real variety in here. There's anything from a very small bookmark or card through to quite complex designs. So I'd really recommend getting that. How am I doing for minutes left on my battery? Okay, it's starting to beep at me. I tell you what, if you don't mind me finding my charger and sorting something out now, I will. This is going to look so unprofessional, and I'm not going to bother editing it out, but this is what I'm going to do, so hold on. Right, I'm back. Sorry, that is very disorganised of me, but it's now on charge, which means I don't have to race through absolutely everything. I can talk for a little while. Okay, and the next thing I wanted to tell you about was a really lucky coincidence. Nobody really mentions her anymore, and I don't know why. I don't know whether it's just because she's much more of a traditional designer. I have to say she's not a designer that particularly has appealed to me. I have one of her samplers which I've shown you before, but it's one of those ones that I'm not overly enamoured with. But I have this, and it is from 2002, and it's called Jane Greenoff's Cross Stitch Designer, and it's a DVD. It's a CD-ROM for the PC. Really random, probably, and you're probably thinking, what am I showing you this for? Well, what it was is my mother-in-law goes to a badminton club, and on sort of most weeks they have a table where they just leave things, just things they don't want anymore that people are welcome to take. It might be books or sewing kits or whatever. It's not normally sewing kits, but things like that. And somebody had put this there, didn't take any money for it, and my mother-in-law picked it up for me. And if I'm honest, I didn't think I'd get much out of it. I thought it was going to be one of those kind of softwares where you can only really do very blocky designs on it. And I thought, oh, I don't know. But I thought, I'll give it a try. And I just put it in my laptop. And I would really recommend people get this. And what it is, unless I'm mistaken, there's not many cross-stitch designer software now that isn't very expensive. And I might be inaccurate with this, but this is just from what I know, that would allow you to do what this allows you to do. And I think that's because as time has changed, people charge for things. But I discovered that I could import my photos. I've been going on about doing a cross stitch of my photos for a really, really long time. And it's probably something I won't get round to for ages, but there's some childhood pictures which I'd really like to chart and do. And I imported it and I was so impressed, because I managed to import a photo and put the settings on so much detail that it would come out the size of a heaven and earth design. That's how detailed we're talking from a photo that I imported. And when you think that you would pay, Heaven and Earth have a bespoke service where they do that, which I think has been anywhere between sort of £60 and £100 before to do, which is understandable because it's a lot of work. But there's those photo stitch kits that you have to pay sort of about £30 to send off a design for, and this is completely free. And the thing is, because it's so old, you could probably pick this. I was going to look up before I showed you actually, but you could probably pick this up for, I don't know, a few pounds on Amazon. So I would really recommend, as I say, I may be wrong, but my understanding is I've never found a more modern cross-stitch designer which hasn't been much more expensive than this. So if you want to save yourself some money and you've got some photos that you want to translate into really decent, detailed cross-stitch kits, I'd recommend this. It tells you can select your thread make, DMC, Madeira, Anchor, all other ones. It will convert absolutely everything you need. You can put it in black and white, sepia, colour, I believe. I think that's true. And you can design your own ones on there as well. But that's the function that really appealed to me because it saved me a lot of money. It means I only have to get my Ada and my threads. So if you did want to know more about it, definitely check it out. I've been really impressed just through fiddling around with it, really. And I think you'd be surprised at how much use you could get out of this if you're somebody that likes to cross stitch your own. The reason being that I'm not knocking photo stitch kits at all. I think they've got their place, but when I've seen people write into magazines and they've got their photos converted, it's okay, but some of them are still quite blocky. They don't tend to do them on a particularly high count. They lose some of the detail. Some of it looks a bit pixelated, and actually the way that this came out, it would be the same detail with something like my Omri Koresh kit. So I was really impressed. So that's just a bit of an insider tip for you. I'm sure there might be other people that have done PCs and stuff since then, but it's just an idea. You might want to check it out. Cool. The last thing in terms of projects that I wanted to show you is I've decided what my next cross stitch kit is going to be. I'm going to do it. I've decided not to buy it until next month because I know realistically I'm not going to get around to it this month, and next month I start the new wage of my new job, which means I have much more money. Not much more, but quite a bit, and like kind of noticeably a bit more money. So I thought I would treat myself. So it's by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and it's Christmas on Gingerbread Lane. don't think it's going to really show you in very good detail, but it's really lovely. It's a shame it's not really picking it up. Do try and check it out on Google Images if you get the chance. It's a really lovely design. I think it would be quite a quick stitch. And I thought it would be a fun thing to do for Christmas. So, and it's something that I think it would be a little bit like Lizzie Kate, where it wouldn't take loads and loads to get it finished. So that's my next Christmas design, which I'm really looking forward to doing. And I'll let you know when I've bought that and when I've got the materials for it. And if I think it's quite a popular design, so if anybody stitched it, it'd be really great to hear from you how long it took you, how you found it. I've admired a lot of Frosted Pumpkin stitchery stuff, but not actually bought any. So it'd be really good to see your thoughts on that. Finally, I said I had a bit of a moan. It's not really so much of a moan, it's just a general observation, really. I'm a member of quite a few Facebook cross-stitch groups, and most of the time I find them amazing places to get lots of inspiration, to chat to people, to get feedback, just to put ideas out there that might seem stupid to you, but other people might have some feedback for. I've been a little bit kind of disappointed by a couple of them lately, and what it is people are taking it really too seriously. So I'm always surprised because I'm the type of personality I am. I have hobbies, and cross stitch is a very, I love cross stitch as a hobby. I'm actually very obsessed with it. I think about it a lot. I like to obviously, and I do acknowledge that people are different. I'm quite casual with my stitching, but I know that there are other people out there who like to set themselves deadlines and time frames, and that's absolutely fine, and that's not any of my business at all. But it's people that can be quite, have very high expectations of what people should be doing. And I didn't really think I'd find that in the cross stitch community. I kind of thought that everybody would be very supportive and understanding that people have lives outside of their hobby. I mean, we're all obviously obsessed with it, otherwise we wouldn't sit and watch hours and hours of YouTube videos, and we wouldn't be members of Facebook groups. But ultimately, in my mind, those are supposed to be groups for people that like cross stitch, love the hobby, want to get inspiration, want to share tips, want to share photos, maybe ask some questions. And I don't think people should, my view anyway, is that people shouldn't be held to account by other people about how much they've managed to stitch or how much they've committed to what their project is. I think people have lives outside of their hobby that we don't see. We see the floss tube video, we don't see that person's everyday life and how busy work is and looking after their children. And to me, it's just baffling why anybody would think it was a huge deal if somebody doesn't meet their milestone on a project. Maybe it's because my personality is very different. Maybe it's because I've never really been like that. I'm quite a sensitive person who is quite empathic with people, and I realise that there's a lot more to somebody than just one aspect. But what I've really noticed lately is people putting a lot of pressure on other people. Sometimes that comes in joke form, which I think is a kind of thinly veiled competitiveness, that people have, that, there can be quite sort of chiding of other people, and it's kind of masked as a joke, but really it's kind of making a point, oh, you haven't done this month, you said you were going to, kind of thing. But I guess that, that might be joking around. But there's this other side that I have seen actually quite a lot recently, which is people sort of saying, you've committed to doing this, and, this is a serious place to, and I just thought, this is supposed to be fun, and it needs to kind of stay that way. And people, one of the things I really like about some of the cross stitch groups I'm a member of is that people seek solace about other life issues as well. For many people, myself included, cross stitch is very therapeutic and gives people an outlet to work through some of their feelings while they're working on their project. And I think that's really important and really lovely that people get the chance to discuss things like that in the Facebook group. And what I think is quite sad is if those same people are made to feel very bad about the fact that they haven't been able to keep up with everybody else on a stitch along, or, haven't had time to commit to a project. I just think that's a bit unfeeling and a bit, I think we have to put things in perspective here. This isn't, my career. This is this is my hobby. It hasn't directly affected me, but I'm just aware that a few people seemed to be quite aggressive in terms of how they talk to other people about stuff, and it just was so shocking to me because it just seemed, I mean, you sort of have to laugh really. I mean, cross stitch, it's sewing, you know, it's not world peace, you know, it's not building a government, you know, we're talking about putting a needle in a bit of fabric and doing some sewing and making a picture out of thread. And I'm not being reductionist, I'm not saying that that's all it is. It actually symbolises a lot more than that for people, but it is a hobby, it is supposed to be fun. And if it stops being fun and it starts being making people feel as though they have to be held to account for things, I think that's just a bit far. So it's not really a moan as so much as me thinking it's a shame, feeling sorry for people, and just being quite unpleasantly surprised, I suppose, at how people can be. And I think some of that is online mentality. I think when people are online, sometimes they act and respond in ways, in a more knee-jerk reactionary ways than they would if they were talking to somebody in person. I think it's the kind of the way things go. But yeah, I just wondered if any of you had encountered that, whether you were ever made to feel bad by anybody else about a project that you haven't managed to complete, whether you share my thoughts or whether you think that these things should be quite strict. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on that one. So I think that's it from me. So it's been a bit of a mishmash video as usual, nothing particularly thematic, but just to kind of give you an update of where I am. I'm hoping by the next video in a few weeks I will have made some progress on some of my projects, got over my stitches block. But it'd be really good to hear feedback from you as to any of the things I've discussed in the video today. Thank you again so much for commenting, for watching, and thanks again for all your lovely videos. I've been doing a lot of catching up lately and I'm really enjoying them, so thank you. So I'll see you soon, but happy stitching and take care. Bye.